What's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today. I'm going to be talking about something that I've been wanting to talk about all week for the Houston Texans. It's actually been a couple of days since I've made a Texans video. The Texans have been a little quiet in these last couple of days besides, head coaching stuff. But a couple of days after the Texans season finale, GM Nick Caserio did announce that John Metchie, rookie. Why? I don't know. What do you call it? I guess would he be entering his rookie year next year? I mean, he was in his rookie year, but didn't play. John Metchie, wide receiver from Alabama, who did battle with leukemia. I'm pretty sure he has recovered from it. And GM Nick Caserio has announced that he should be ready to go for the offseason program. And I'm so excited for this. I've been watching some highlights over for Metchie this week. And this was, obviously he wasn't able to play for the Texans this season. But I think that if he would have played this year, he would have been so good. And just watching his highlights, he has so much potential for this Houston Texans team. And one of the most things I'm excited for is if the Texans, don't F everything up like they can intend to do sometimes, and they get Bryce Young. I'm so excited to see Bryce Young and John Metchie together. Two guys that played with each other in Alabama. Bryce Young, that was one of his favorite wide receivers last season. I don't know too much about, the Alabama wide receivers, but I do know it was kind of a struggle for Bryce Young to, connect with his wide receivers this earlier in the season. I remember, watching that in the Texas game because I'm a Longhorns fan. And it kind of felt like he was missing something. And that might have been John Metchie. I'm so excited. I'm excited just for John Metchie to return and possibly to be paired with Bryce Young. I think that just makes the Texans even more scarier. Obviously, the Texans aren't a threat to anybody, right? But that QB wide receiver duo is a threat. This Texans team isn't really a threat yet, but that wide receiver QB duo would be a threat in this league. John Metchie just shows so many high potentials in so many ways with his deep ball accuracy. Well, not his deep ball, he's good with his deep game. He's just a great wide receiver, and I'm so excited for the Houston Texans to get him back this year. I think that's going to be one of the keyest factors for the Houston Texans. And I think he possibly could be the Houston Texans number one going into 2023. I don't know. I really don't know if he would be, because in my last mock draft I did on here, I did have the Texans drafting Quentin Johnson, but I think he definitely has potential to be a number one. And I think he could be the number one, and Quentin Johnson could be the two, and Collins could be the three. I think Bryce Young would have himself a nice young wide receiver trio. I think, when I watch Metchie's highlights, he reminds me a lot like CeeDee Lamb. His deep, when he goes deep, he's a little bit better with, running deeper routes than I think Lamb is, but because Lamb's, good on the slot. But I just think that John Metchie is going to have a really powerful 2023 season. It could be a little bit struggle at first, possibly. I don't really know. I haven't, seen a lot of players come back from, I remember Eric Berry who came back from cancer. I think he was actually pretty decent after returning, but it could be a struggle after not touching the field for a while, missing the whole season. But I think ultimately he will, get in football strength. And I think when he does, Bryce Young is scarier as a quarterback, and this Texans team is scarier as a team. There's so many things that so many things that can happen for the Houston Texans going into this offseason that just makes them, better as a football team. It starts with, obviously, the QB. It leans forward to the coach, which the Texans should fix both of those problems this offseason. Then it leans forward to the wide receiver problems, which the Texans will take care of with getting John Metchie back this offseason and possibly drafting Quentin Johnson or Jordan Addison with that 12th overall pick. Then it leans toward the Texans and possibly adding in another safety to help Jalen Petrie and possibly some more defensive linemen to stop the run. And then from there, this Texans team just needs, more time. And the Texans can be a scary team next year. I'm not saying playoffs. I'm not saying anything like that. But I'm saying, at least 6 to 8 wins. Texans should have an easier schedule going into 2023. They finished last in the division. This division is going to get worse. Tennessee's going to get worse. The Colts are going to get even worse. So I think the only team that's stopping the Texans in this division, and it's a real problem, is the Jaguars. And it's gonna be a problem for this Texans team, for the next, 10 years dealing with Trevor Lawrence. And I think, the one guy that's gonna help us is gonna have to help us do it is Bryce Young. I would doubt, we'll be able to finish, first in the division, with Trevor Lawrence in this division. But I think in a couple years, 2-3 years, we could be a wild card team. I really do. Obviously not this year. I don't think 2024 will be our year that we get in the playoffs. Possibly I see 2024. The 2024 season could be the season I could see the Houston Texans getting the playoffs. It just all depends on how this defense improves. Because by 2024, the defense could improve. Bryce Young in his second year could develop a lot, and this team could just, fully develop. But I think I'm so excited for John Metchie to return in 2023, and it's going to be one of the Texans' biggest factors going into this season. And I'm so happy that he's healthy and safe. And I think that this Texans team and this organization will be better next season, and it starts with him returning. That's not the only things that we have to do, because we have to get a quarterback, preferably his old friend Bryce Young, and we have to get not experience, but we have to get a good head coach that will do our team right, and we have to make good decisions. We have some money to spend in free agency. Possibly we add in a defensive lineman this year in free agency to help us with that running problem that we have against opposing offenses. Because it was a problem this year. Our defensive line was a big problem. Malik Collins was good for defensive tackle for us this season, but besides that, there was some struggles. I'm excited for Jonathan Grenard to return, but I think besides Jonathan Grenard and Malik Collins, we need to make changes with our other position at defensive end for our second starter at defensive end and our second starter at defensive tackle. I like Roy Lopez, but I think we just need a stronger defensive end and a stronger defensive tackle, because our run defense was awful this year, one of the worst in the NFL. So there's a lot of things that the Texans have to build to bring to success, but this starts with one, and I think John Metchie has superstar potential in this league, and I haven't even watched him in a game. He hasn't even played a game, but I've been watching his college highlights, and this guy has superstar. I don't know about superstar, but this guy has star potential in this league for the Houston Texans, and I'm so excited for him to return in 2023. You guys let me know what you guys think about John Metchie returning for 2023. What you guys think about him going into the 2023 season and him possibly playing with Bryce Young if the Texans can get all this stuff right going into the offseason. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts. Peace out. Go Texans.